If you are sitting around and just waiting for something to happen, you're going to be steamrolled. So in today's video, I'm going to explain everything that you need to know about the economy, the stock market, tariffs, and what's going to happen to the 401ks, your retirement accounts, everything in between. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. My name is David Quintieri, and I am the Money GPS. I've been doing this for longer than I can remember. What I have done here is over and over and over been the most accurate analyst on YouTube that is documented. And if you want the proof, it is available to you at the website, themoneygps.vercel.app. And you literally can see everything I've ever said right there for you with a search. Global shift to bypass the dollar is gaining momentum in Asia. And this is important because everything is changing. It's not just a simple matter of, okay, it's a fluctuation here. Okay, there's a little bump, there's a recession. We've got major dealings happening. I'll cover, of course, what's happening with the tariffs. We're going to look at some other things. But here you go. Banks and brokers are seeing rising demand for currency derivatives that bypass the dollar as trade tensions add a sense of urgency to a years-long shift away from the greenback. It's important to note that's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to see this in 2025. Understand the timeline here. This has been accelerated, just like certain things were accelerated during 2020, just like certain things because of the tariffs were accelerated. Think about manufacturing. You've got companies like Apple who can afford to do this. They'll say, okay, let's open up a factory in India. Let's open up a factory in Vietnam so we could diversify our supply chain, which wasn't happening prior to 2020 at all, really. And now that has changed. Of course, small percentage still, but they're doing that. The timeline gets accelerated because of that crisis. And so we're seeing the same thing with the dollar. China has been selling off their US debt for years and years and years. It's been actually over a decade since they've been, on average, consistently selling off their US debt. And if China isn't buying it anymore, you might be buying it, okay? You might have other foreign countries buying it, but the lender of last resort, the buyer of last resort, who could that be? Your friends, your good friends at the Federal Reserve. That's right. And of course, that would mean your currency being printed into confetti. Ah, yes. Okay. And so you could see this right here. Yuan payments picked up after US election in November. Understand, very small percentage still, but it's growing. Okay. So we see that's the way, it has clearly been, going on over time. The US dollar, overwhelmingly is the number one currency when it comes to transactions. It's, I believe, 59% or so of the total reserve currencies. It's the number one by far. The number two is like way down the list. Number three, way down the list. So keep that in mind. I'm going to connect that in with this. Empty shelves, 4 lease signs, and job layoffs point to recession by summer. Stop the trade flow and you stop the economy. Americans are about to learn that right here, and you can see what's going on. I think right now, as I'm recording this video, it's on the weekend, and so by the time you're watching it, it's probably at least some good information has come out in the news. What is that? It's that the deals are starting to happen with China and the US. This is the number one thing, very big. It's going to affect the economy. It's going to affect trade. It will directly impact you. Look, if the things are not coming from China, as much as you say, well, we should be manufacturing in the US and all this stuff, I'm not even getting into that, but you want to do that. Okay, great. But when that stuff stops flowing, suddenly port workers, number one, they're feeling it. The delivery services, everything, it's not just guys driving trucks, it's the companies that are involved with that. So many different things. What about, there's just so many things all along in the logistics. They are going to fail one by one by one, and immediately they have the so-called furloughs, which is like, you're not fired, but you just don't come to work. You're not getting paid, whatever you want to call that. That happens one at a time. Now, there already is an issue because of how long the tariffs have gone on for and how many companies are just waiting. They know, okay, 145 is not going to stay forever. We're going to get a cut here. Where's it going to be to? So let's just hold off. That, of course, has already had an impact and will continue to be extended a little bit further. But, if it goes on too long, oh my goodness, it is devastating and it accelerates the trend. That's what we talked about a moment ago. Money worries crushing mental health. 7 in 10 Americans report peak financial stress. This is something that cannot be resolved by anything that's, oh, yes, we're going to be bringing in money left, right, and center. Yeah, I've been hearing that all my life. Okay. Don't expect that. You need to take action yourself. We can talk a little bit about that today. But, there's a timeline here. We are being burned by inflation. We're being burned in every which way possible. But also on the other end, if you look 5 years out, 10 years out, we've got robots, we've got automation, we got AI that is simply that runway is getting shorter and shorter and shorter as you move through. Take this and really utilize this information, please. Like, what's happening? You've got this in the case of Google, and they're saying, hey, the total number of searches, that are taking place with Google have actually declined. They haven't seen that before. So what does this mean? That things are changing and this acceleration is taking place in everything, even technology like Google. Okay. Of course, Google is in basically every different thing. I mean, they're in all kinds of, not just a search engine, although that is their bread and butter. Cargo thieves are attacking the US supply chain at an alarming rate. Why? You have an opportunity and that is being seized. Okay, so keep that in mind for what's happening. You will see for yourself how devastating these things can be when there is a US consumer that is the entire, it's the entire GDP, or I should say it's the entire economy and the growth and everything. And then you're going to stop that abruptly. It will cause a problem. Trump claims total reset in US-China trade relations after tariff talks in Geneva. US President praises very good discussions as top US and Chinese officials meet over trade war triggered by Trump's tariff blitz. So, of course, we saw that, the tit for tat, the back and forth, and now we have a big change. You could see de-escalating, bringing those rates down to where they should be. I think Scott Bessent's goal. I think it's the Chinese delegation's goal as well. This is Lutnick saying this, and that's what the president hopes is a good outcome, is a de-escalating world where we can go back to each other and then we work on a big deal together. So they go from 145, they bring it down. What's the number? By the time you're watching this, you may have already seen the number, but what they're saying is 145. Maybe it's going to be 80%. Goldman Sachs, and I've seen some others, have said around that 50% is what they're looking for. Okay, we don't know. I think that's becomes like the new level. And then from there, they can discuss other things. They've got TikTok, they've got fentanyl, they've got IP, they've got like all, a long list of different things. The US wants China's market to be open somewhat. China's not, they're reluctant, obviously, with that, but they want their the opening to happen. They want a different circumstance in so many different aspects. What we're gonna get, who knows? Agriculture, there could be a lot of moving parts here. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. This is a big thing. You made it this far into the video. If trade relations do very well at this point, this is potentially a near-term bottom, and it can go up from here. Any negative news related to China, it immediately can erase a big chunk of the gains that have been seen over the last little while. Very important to note this. We are right here at this moment. Trump, in a major concession, says the tariff on China should be 80%, but will leave it up to Bessent. So he's saying, I want to be tough, 80%, but I'll leave it up to this guy. What's he going to do? Is it 70, 60, 65? I don't know. We're going to see. Many are saying in that 50 to 60% range is where they'll go. But I think in the coming months, it can actually decline even further. How bad is China's economy? The data is needed to answer. The data needed to answer is vanishing. Okay, they stopped publishing the statistics. Obviously, their economy is dealing with the trade war as well. Okay, it's just one thing after another. China's economic concerns prompt trade talks with the Trump team. This is coming with all of these new details that are being unveiled. Essentially, what they're saying here is, okay, China had to come to the table. They had to go ahead and do this deal. They couldn't wait too much longer. There's a lot more to that, I believe, but it's just important to see it step by step. This is talking about the UK and the US, and understand that it's not just China. We've got all these countries, but it seems like the base rate is going to be 10%. And what that means is that the older days, I shouldn't say the old days, but you can see that tariffs will be a thing, and people, countries, businesses, they're not going to change where their products are made because of 10%. They're not going to change anything, but that does mean more revenue. Okay. Because if they can get those tariffs in, they'll make some revenue there. They're not going to change. They're not going to be building in manufacturing in the US because of a 10% tariff. Nothing's going to change. But, you could see it as a positive in that sense where, they're bringing some extra cash in supposedly. Now, this is all important. Understand where we are. Very fundamental to the economy, because the consumer is there, and you might not like the flat screen TVs. Like, I've seen some people's houses, and like every room has this like massive flat screen TV in it. It's like, how much TV can you possibly be watching? But that stuff, okay, might be garbage. You might say, you know what, that's garbage. All that cheap junk at Walmart, it's all garbage. Walmart employs a lot of people. Okay, maybe they're not the highest wages, but my goodness, have you ever seen a store manager, what they make over there? Have you ever seen some of the people on the higher end in the retail stores, what they're making? It is unbelievable. So it's not all low paying jobs. But when you look at all this, these are jobs. Okay. And that consumer, maybe it has to shift. Maybe you would argue, hey, we got to shift from Walmart jobs to manufacturing the products. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But there needs to be incentives. Things need to happen in order to get the wheels in motion for that. And a tariff, of course, is not a solution to that. This was part of this back and forth. We want to be tough. We want to get this thing to happen right away. What are we going to do? We're going to potentially cause a recession. Look, they did something like this in the 70s too. They knew that putting interest rates up to a significant degree would cause a problem, would create a recession. That's a fact. But what they were trying to do here is, okay, we need to bring inflation down. And so we're willing to do this. I think in a sense, that's part of what they're doing right now. They're saying, we need to get this done. We need to do things fast. So let's just go crazy. But that means we're going to resolve it quickly. And hopefully we do that before we cause mass destruction. So understand that there's a timeline here because of inflation, because of what's happening with the job circumstances, robots, automation, all of these things, AI, and everything is changing so fast. Not even companies like Google can keep up. Okay. How do you stay in tune with all this? How do you advance yourself? Well, number one, the most important thing is to have your primary foundational education. Okay. The financial education for free. themoneygps.com/compass. You go through the course, you got it, no problem. Then it's 20 minutes, by the way. 20 minutes, you get the basics, you understand how the financial system works. That, if you don't have that, you can't do the next steps. And then what you got to do is you got to start learning a new skill. I learned started 2017, I learned how to do e-commerce, selling products online. Okay, still doing it today. That was a big deal for me. Then I started learning how to build apps with AI. building websites, doing all these different things. I learned that I didn't know how to do it. I didn't say, well, I don't know how to do it, I can't do that. I started saying, how can I learn how to do this? Whatever's right for you. Okay. It could be different for different people in different walks of life and so on, but you got to learn these skills. You got to monetize the skills that you have, and you got to do it right away. We don't have time to waste. If you want anything, go to that compass. There's links for, contacting me and so on. Always want to hear from you. Shout outs to the Finance Friday crew, the Sunday business crew, with my live sessions. I want to thank you for coming in today. Stay tuned for more videos. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.